As I'd got that old Hornby House from that bargain haul at the Twine Train Fair, this came up, and as you can see it's still in the cellophane. I think with the postage it cost around about just under a shade under £10 or something thereabouts. So I thought I always wanted one of these when they first came out, and they were obviously a bit expensive as they were Hornby back in the day. But Mr. Cockhead, or whatever his name is, from Hornby Infinite Wisdom, said that they weren't going to do kits anymore because all the modelers now don't model, they just pay exceeding amount of money for resin buildings, and they abandoned making kits for people like me that haven't got the money to spend on loads of resin buildings, in his great hindsight. But you might see it looks possibly a little bit familiar, because if you take away the 1980s Georgian revival that everyone was into back then, and just put plain windows in, you will find this very same model sold for about £15 under the Ford Hampton Gauge Master range, along with that other little house even that I purchased for £3, is also made again by Gauge Master, so they must have bought the tooling off of Hornby to carry on building these. But again, £15 for a house. If you want to build a cul-de-sac, that's a fair chunk of money, or it is for me anyway. But yeah, it was a bit different. The person has now put another one on. I got it for £6 or £6.50 I think, plus the postage. So yeah, another little one. That'll go. I'll probably leave it in the box till doomsday time. Week in the mailbox, along with the house I purchased. I've been after a few trucks and things, or even, I hate the Eddie Stobart thing because it's, you know, common as muck, but they can pick them up quite cheap and respray them, which is what I should be doing with most of my Stobart ones. But obviously a lot of the trucks are a bit too modern, and I managed to find someone selling a 143 and a 118, I think it is, a 113, which I used to rent those out, and the 92s, 6x2s and 4x2s. So I got those. Now obviously I'll have to, I did find some companies that, was it Nightwing or one of the other people, Ten Commandments, somewhere like that, they do trailer kits. They're not cheap though. Or possibly repurpose a Stobart one. Or just have a little scene where there's one in a workshop or something. So we got them, they were about £12. Another purchase, a mini digger, because it's a winking one, 187 scale. No idea what's rattling around in the pack, I haven't opened it up yet, but yeah, I purchased another excavator, which is one of the Stobart Atlas ones, which is a bit crap really for the money. Well, for the money they want originally, it's appalling. It's not even, it's the one with the high rail equipment on it, and I thought I might be able to do something with it, but the high rail equipment is actually glued solidly to the digger, so you can't do it, and even if you did move it, it doesn't fit the rails, so I can't see how that's quite the scale. But yeah, that'll be a static display rather than actually on a piece of track, because it doesn't bloody well fit. Well done, Atlas Oxford. We've just going through the packages for today and yesterday, so I thought I'd grab the camera. We've got another tanker to add to the collection. It's another VTG one, but it's the Petro Plus one, which doesn't come up very often, which is that one. I haven't been able to find any more, but still not a cheap buy, but I got it cheaper than some of the silly prices the second-hand ones are going for. And friends over in China have been supplying me again, a bit quicker this time of the year. Even, well, one was going via Belgian post, but it got combined with another one. So we have some tiny little sugar cube type speakers in a small surround. You can get an idea of how small they are. We've got a tape measure. Where have we got the ruler? Get the ruler. Gives you an idea, 15mm or so. Not very big, so they'll fit. They'll fit in an N gauge, but I haven't got anything DCC in N gauge. But yeah, I did try them on my MP3 player, and they're quite easily overdriven. They're okay as a sort of speaker. In addition to another one, which obviously doesn't work with 8 ohms, because these are all 8 ohm that I buy. You'd need 2 4 ohms. But they would be okay in buildings or as a secondary speaker. I might experiment if and when I get the time just to build a little chamber for them, which would improve them, but they do work quite well. They're quite clear, as long as the volume's not, you know, pushing them too hard. I have got a similar one, slightly larger, which I bought from Richard at Road and Rails when he had a deal on the other week for $2.99. I bought a little one just to see what it was like. At the price he was doing them at the time, it was just as cheap as getting from him as it was China. These ones are very similar format, but they're in a little cabinet. Again, these are better than the other ones you've just seen. I thought these, well, I should have known because I did see the measurements, but I bought these ones as well, thinking they were the other ones that I was going to buy and then didn't, so in other words I ordered the wrong set. These aren't bad. They may fit in the 47. I might give them a try in the 47. Again, I tried these on the MP3 player with the little box. Gives them a little bit better acoustics. And again, they're quite good for confined space. I don't know whether they would work in a 20. I might see what they're like in the later versions. I think the earlier 20 sound one I got is a 3.5, which is a 100 ohm speaker, which obviously you're pretty much stuffed for replacing them. And I got another set of these ones, which seem to be my go-to speaker if you don't want anything bassy. So I bought another pack of those because I've used the last pair up, I think, in 47s or 37s, I can't remember now. But there was one I was going to take out and put in another one, and then put something bigger in the 37. But yeah, we got those. Easy type coupling, a bit like the KD there, like the Bachmann version. They had them on offer again on a deal, so I bought 2 packs of 12. They turned up, and they're for upgrading the American ones. It's a pity you can't cut that bit off and maybe glue them onto a NEM coupling and fit in a NEM pocket. You know, sort of modernise some of the English fleet cheaply, as opposed to buying KDs, which I think are about £6 a pair now, aren't they? Where I think 24 cost me about 18 quid to get them here. Staying on the NEM theme, I got my Vectus printed PTA Lima fittings, but I bought that as I thought that might be the best attempt to convert the other tanker that I was doing up that's had them chopped. It isn't a perfect fit. I haven't matched it up yet to see what position it wants to go in. Now that first stage there will have to be cut off, so there'll just be that thicker segment, and I will glue. I can do it one-handed. It's sticking out no good now. Let's have a look. So yeah, depending on whether it will need height, you can see a gap there, so I might have to use a bit of plastic card as a packer, or I will cut that end piece off and then that will sit down flush. So it's basically marrying it up to one of the ones with the couplings on, just to get it to the right height and distance so that it doesn't over project past the buffer beam or is too short, which may look more preferable but may cause a problem we're running. Moving over to the tanker, we made a bit of progress with it. I've just mounted it on the back and fitted the hook. I couldn't get it through and then attach the spring and the split pin to lock it in place, because obviously the curvature and radius of the dome section interfered with it, and I couldn't get the bit unscrewed, because as you can see both ends have previously had plastic glued to them where the KDs were fitted. That has in turn worked by capillary action and run the glue bead round the joint, so now the two halves are glued together. So I took the screws out and I couldn't break the seal, didn't want to risk doing it, because I did think I could utilise the hole that they've made and pass the wire through, put the micro switch in here, may have cleared the bogey, or this side, unscrewed it and then put the battery holder inside, because obviously they'd last ages and ages, so it wouldn't be a regular event that you'd have to unscrew it to change the batteries, but the battery container would have gone inside the tank, a micro switch on the outside to turn it on and off. The wires would have come out the end there and then terminated onto the end of train light, but I can't get this open because of this glue seepage. So it's back to the drawing board. Now, as we're sort of literally bringing the conversation up, I've been working on another two, which you can barely see. I paint them in two coats of a very dense black Vallejo paint to stop light bleed. I overshot on my old business card here. They've come in useful for something. Is my mini painting palettes. I put too much down, so I basically give the first lot a coat. So these, I can just pick them up because I cannot feel them with my condition. I don't know how well that's focusing on my mucky nail. There we go, you can see the hole there. I can't see from the viewfinder. That's the back. You can just see the sort of eyebrow there. So I have to drill through them with, I think I've done a 0.75. I've got a set of those micro drill bits, and I have the same complaint as a lot of other people, that all of the small ones are not actually finished. They've got a flat rather than a profile tip, so you can't get them to start. So the second attempt, I went up or down another drill to try and get it more centralised, and then just drifted off because the tips are flat like a screwdriver tip. So I'll do this quickly before it goes out of bloody focus. But basically I have to mill the back out so that it will receive, if I can line that up, not very well there, but so there's basically a recess to fit this little SMD flashing red. So again, we'll do a quick shot before it focuses in on something else, but you can get an idea. They're not the smallest SMD you can get, but they're the smallest one I could find with a flashing module built inside the actual SMD. So there's no fancy electronics. There's just on the other end of this wire a resistor so that you can run it. Well, I run them off 3 volt anyway, but it just takes the brightness down. They do light bleed out of it a little bit. The first one I done, which I'll show now. So that's the back, where you can just see the SMD is sort of buried into the rear of the lamp, and there's just like the little solder tags, and then like that at the front, which I think the pigment of the paint on this one did lose the profile of the lamp a little bit, which hopefully I can try and rectify with the next one, although I have given these ones extra black paint to eliminate the light bleed. But I will just fire it up again for the benefit of those that haven't seen them before. that up. I don't know how well it comes out on the camera. It looks a bit overexposed, but yeah. So the idea is obviously when it will well, you need 3 bloody hands. Doubtless it will come off now. So yeah, eat your heart out of Cura scale. So somewhere in between the buffers or something, it will go up there like that, and the wires can go behind the bar, and that is the plan, or was anyway. Yeah, so these are the ones that take this sort of coin sized battery, which you can see clearly is not going to be a covert concealment underneath a wagon. It will just look like a black blob, I suppose, and cut the wires down. Obviously it would have been, the micro version would have gone inside, which is, where are we here, one of these, which I bought for the Airfix Mark 2Ds, because they'll fit in the slots of the underbody detailing, and they take those slightly smaller batteries that you get in keychains and things, little LED torches, which should clear the track. But again, you know, I mean, I can paint the brass bits black, and obviously the batteries are going to be stainless steel colour, aren't they? So not an ideal solution. Like that. It's just that obviously with this being the older one, I didn't mind chopping it about a bit to achieve it, but the fact I can't undo the bloody thing, because that would have been hidden inside, and then just a small switch under body, and yeah, I've had to super glue that in anyway, so that definitely ain't coming off that end now. So yeah, might be revisited. I don't know whether I can find a single battery version of one of those that would look a little bit less obtrusive on the undercarriage. But, you know, maybe the profile of one of those isn't quite as bad. I know the Hornby one has the chassis running along it, so it would stick down even more if I try and do it with the Hornby one, plus they're more awkward for doing internal concealment. But, the last item I purchased was these, as you can see, inside a buffer. Buffers, bogies, what am I talking about? Little electric motors that will go inside a bogie. Got the idea from Jeff Bunz's postings a few months ago when he was being interviewed by somebody, and they basically fitted them inside a caboose, I think, and powered a caboose. Not something I'm going to do, but I thought, I like that idea. I'm going to get a set of them, 50p each. So, you know, not going to kill the toolbox, even if they do sit a long while before I use them. But I was thinking track maintenance vehicles, which there seemed to be a big lack of in 00 gauge. You got the Wickham trolley and that little flatbed drop side truck thing that Bachmann do, which is not available in DCC, I don't think, but again, they're a fair chunk of money. But yeah, if I pick something up along in the future, then yeah, possible motorisation may be on the cards. Is something to think about. Gotta get this bloody thing sorted first. So yeah, I might even just revert to repairing that one and maybe modifying one of those, or if I pick another one up, converting those, because they're easily accessed with the 2 screws, hide something inside the container, would be easier. Anyway, we're dragging it out, aren't we? Catch you on the next one.